The year was 2018. I was in my fifth year in medical school. We're having a lecture in obstetrics and gynecology, and we're having a little bit of a power problem. So when the professor walked into the class, he was aghast, he was surprised, he was even irritated at the fact that old mature students like ourselves in our fifth year in school could not put together the resources of power to be able to power our projector so that we can actually have a conducive lecture. When he expressed his dissatisfaction with the fact that our class could not provide a generator to power the projector, my class rep was really shocked. He was amazed and he was speechless for a while. And when he was trying to articulate the words to tell the professor that it is not his responsibility to provide power to the school, the professor just stopped him and apologized. And that changed the tangent of the lecture significantly. Hello guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Dr. Peter, and I'm going to go back to the story I was telling you, but just hold on. I have to do this intro. I do a little bit of medical lifestyle, a little bit of academics, and in this video today I want to talk about strike action, and the impact and the effect it has on Nigerian students, particularly medical students, and how you can actually do something about it for yourself. So please, if you are new to this channel, like and subscribe. So back to my story. So Prof turned the tangent of the lecture to tell us about things that happened back in his time. And then he told us that 50 years prior to when we were having that lecture, when he was just an undergraduate student in the University of Ibadan, the first strike that ever happened in the University of Ibadan, which is the first university in Nigeria, happened about 50 years prior to our class, to our index class. And he said the students went on strike. And this was very funny, but the students went on strike because the school did not provide them, or rather because they changed the chicken that was supposed to be part of their lunch to boiled egg, and the students' body revolted at that, that the school had the effrontery to do that without telling them first. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm saying is that not only was school so comfortable that they took their laundries twice a week, gave them meal coupons to eat. Not only did they have adequate lecture hall under with a good lecturer to students ratio, not only did they have steady academic calendars, they also provided food for the students. And they went on strike because the chicken that was supposed to be on their meal was made to boil egg on one particular occasion, and the students went on strike. I say this not to trivialize the fact that academics or education is expensive for a government to sponsor, but I'm saying this so that a young student like yourself, or a young person like yourself, because I know majority of my YouTube subscribers are between the ages of 18 to 35, so that someone like you would know exactly what was in Nigeria and what is. You might have a mental picture that there's been degradation in Nigerian educational system or Nigeria as a whole, but I want you to see from how far this was. So we had a school where the students could revolt because there was no chicken on their meal. That's where we're coming from. Of course, that changed the tangent of our lecture drastically, and over time, it made me really rethink about what really was in Nigeria, like in terms of education. There's about 200 universities, 192 actually, according to the NUC. There are about 200 universities in Nigeria that can admit about 600 or 800,000 students a year. And so we have quite a huge number of people, young people, who are in school. And being in school is frustrating because you are aware, you have some level of knowledge, but you are trapped in the institution, so you cannot really work to earn a living. So you are almost there, but you are not there yet. And the fact that you don't have a degree yet kind of limits you in a way. But that's what this video is about, to tell you a few things about how you can actually manage the strike situation so that your time is well utilized for your own growth and for your productivity as a person, as an individual. You can't do so much as an individual right now. If you're an undergraduate, for example, you can't do so much to change the current situation of strikes in Nigeria. I hope that this pain and this frustration you feel will translate somehow, so that when it is your time, you will make those children who are in nursery class now, you will make them glad that you came this way. I hope you are frustrated enough to have the desire to change the situation that you are in, or at least influence it in a different direction rather than what it is right now. Anyway, since you can't do so much about the institutional problem, you can actually do something about how it affects you as an individual. Since 1998, the universities in Nigeria have gone on several strikes, over 20 episodes of strike action lasting within several periods. I particularly remember when my siblings, I remember one time my elder sister actually bought a radio because they were on strike and she wanted to listen to the news every day until something is done about the strike. I was in secondary school and this was before the preponderance of cell phones, so access to information had to come from mainstream media like radio and TV. And she bought a radio just so that she could have uninterrupted supply of news. And seeing that, it really made me try to see if there could be any alternative when I was making a choice of institution. I found one, but that's not the point of even this video altogether. The point is, what can you do to make things a little bit bearable for you and more productive for you in terms of your time? So a few I think it's been 2 years now, 3 years, I wrote this book, and a particular chapter on my book, this book is actually a handbook that will be helpful for undergraduates generally, more helpful for those coming in newly. But I mean, you never know what you will learn. As Teletubbies say, when you take a look inside the book, who knows what you might see? And a closed mind, as it says, like a closed log of book. Just a closed book is like a log of book. So one of the chapters, I was talking about strike actions and holidays and how you can use them productively. Before I bamboozle you with all the activities I think you can use for your productive time, I just want to say that your mental health is very important, especially in this period. Recently we've heard of very sad situations of undergraduates committing suicide because of school frustrations in school and things like that. So before I start telling you of toxic positivity of what you're going to do, what you should do, what you should be doing now, no, I'm not going to say that. I just want to start by laying a very huge emphasis on your mental health. Guard your mind. Like, comparison is the thief of joy. As an undergraduate, you are exposed to a huge amount of very vast information. Be careful how you judge yourself in light of this information that you are perceiving, especially those ones you get from social media. So the pressure does not build in you. You don't have any peer pressure. The speed for everybody's life is different, but nonetheless, use the time you have adequately. But I want you to pay very close attention to your mental health, because it's actually an epidemic in the world over right now, and it's my humble Hippocratic oath to actually make you aware of your mental health. What's your emotions, what's your reactions, what's your zest to life, your interest in things you liked before, your sleep patterns and things like that. Just keep a very close eye on your mental health, particularly in this time where you cannot make the kind of progress you want to make, especially for those of us that are on a tight schedule. I want to talk a little bit about the impact of strike actions in Nigeria. I'm going to mention names, but I have no animosity towards the institutions I'm going to mention. But I had a friend who schooled in Imo State University, and I also had I have a colleague who schooled in Lautech. The last batch of doctors that graduated from Imo State University spent 11 years in medical school for various reasons. But a dominant reason, a recurring factor, was strike actions. But over a period of maybe 10 years, every doctor graduating from Lautech spent 10 years in medical school. I'll use that as a rough estimate so that we can see the impact of what this is when it comes to productivity. When a doctor spends 10 years in medical school instead of 6 years, then you know that 4 years of that person's life was spent in school. In that 4-year period, that person could have been rendering clinical service to the population of Nigeria, to people. Now, let's just make a rough assumption that Lautech has graduate 50 doctors a year. If they should do 50 doctors a year, and then for a period of now, I want you to do the numbers with me. So 50 doctors a year, and then each doctor is supposed to spend 6 years. Now, each of those 50 doctors have spent 50 doctors over a period of 10 years. 50 doctors over a period of 10 years. If you do that multiplication, that's about 500 doctors already. They spent an extra 4 years in school. That's 4 years multiplied by 500 doctors. That comes to a whooping 2,000 years. Like, I'm not counting the years as in linearly. I'm counting it as a sum of every individual's life in that particular institution. So 50 times 10 is 500, and 500 multiplied by 4 extra years. Now that's 2,000 years of doctor's life trapped in an institution. Can you imagine the amount of service that will be rendered in 2,000 years of qualified clinical experience? You know what that can do to the health of Nigeria? Do you know the impact that means? Let me put this in perspective for you so you have a good idea of what I'm talking about. An average doctor sees, we did a math. If you are in a low flow hospital, a very low flow hospital, an average doctor sees at least 10 patients a day. If you see 10 patients a day, that means in a week you are likely to see 50 patients. This is not an overestimation. 50 patients a week. That means in 10 years, in 10 weeks, you see about 500 patients. That means in 2 years, you see about 2,000 patients. 2,000 patients. And we're talking about 2,000 years of clinical experience just trapped in a school in the name of strike or of one thing or the other. So that's a lot of quality man hours that have been lost and lost forever. Just see the amount of damage now generalized to other courses, other professional courses beside medicine, and then you begin to see the real impact, the negative impact strike actually has on us. But anyway, today I want to talk about ways you in particular can actually do something about it for yourself. They always say now that we are in a time of tremendous change, the seasons of the 3 C's anyway, tremendous change, overwhelming competition, and overwhelming complexity. The 3 C's is important for you, irrespective of whatever course you are studying, including medicine, to actually grow in the quality of the person that you are becoming. And you can do that by acquiring skills that will actually be important. There is a joke that when you go to look for work in France, they ask you this question: how many degrees do you have? If you go to look for work in the United States, they ask you, what can you do? But if you come to look for work in Nigeria, they ask you, who sent you? I want you to change your mindset to what can you really do, right? If you are going to be a professional, you have your professional skills, but what soft skills, what embellishments can you bring to the table? And there's a lot you can actually do. And when you can do this, it doesn't take away from you. Like, you can want to be all booky, and that's awesome, because having quality knowledge takes time, like you need in medicine. It takes a lot of time. But if you can, there's no need to shortchange of yourself of quality skills if you can. And I really think everybody can learn something, maybe something of interest that you've always had. But besides that, this is strike period. The alternative to not learning anything is essentially just letting the time pass. The time is going to pass nonetheless. Why don't you just put something inside that will be significant? And there's quite a number of things you can learn. I'm going to give you a few ideas now, just for idea's sake. At the end of this video, somebody is going to go to the gym, somebody is going to go to the library. At the end of my video today, somebody is going to watch, and I hope somebody will make a commitment to say, okay, for the next 30 days or for the next 15 days, I'm going to read so and so, I'm going to learn so and so, I'll take so course or something like that. If that is accomplished at the end of this video, I think I'll probably be the happiest YouTuber around. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, by the way, if you've not subscribed. So a few of the ideas I outlined in my books are things you can actually learn. I learned to drive a car at quite a late age, but it seems like a trivial skill until there's an emergency. You've always been driven around by your parents or your ward, or you've always taken public transport of one form or the other. You really can't drive. So some of us can't actually ride a bicycle. Learn something. If you don't want to learn it for yourself, learn it because you're going to have to teach somebody, maybe your child, maybe your ward, maybe your students in future. Learn how to drive. You can learn how to cycle. You can learn how to actually ride the bicycle. I learned how to ride the bicycle at a very late age myself, and then I learned how to drive a lot way later than the average young boy would learn how to drive. You can also learn a musical instrument. I like musical instrument because it's a skill you can take away with you. You will be stuck in an airport someday and there will be a piano there and everybody will be bored, and you can just entertain the crowd and entertain yourself and refresh yourself with the transforming power of music, as they used to say on TED. Learn a musical instrument, learn a guitar, learn a musical instrument, something you can carry along with you, something that can be your pastime, your escape route or something, for those of you that are musically inclined anyway. You can learn productive skills too, like you can sell. You can learn social media marketing. There's a whole The internet has brought a whole and everyday new kind of job that did not exist are beginning to exist. Find a niche and just go in. And go in, you can go in gently, as I always say. In clinical medicine, we say when you're starting a new drug, you start slow and go slow. Start low and go slow. So start something. Who knows? You might find the interest of that passion you've always been dreaming about. You might find something very, very exciting when you start. But you have to start. You can also see, you can learn about money. You can learn about financial technology. You can learn that there's a lot of information, there's a lot of ads out there. Everybody's talking about it. Just learn, choose a small aspect of it, and then try to narrow down and learn, and then have very quality skill. You can learn how to cook. A male friend of mine, a colleague of mine actually, he registered for a course, a culinary skill course for 45,000 naira, and then he was putting updates on his social media handle, and I was seeing how he was baking, cooking. This was somebody I know who lived on eating out for a long period of time, took a course and started celebrating himself as a professional cook in a way. And I'm excited because I'm going to visit him in a few days time, and I can't wait to see and taste what he learned and what he was posting, to see if it was actually worth it. But still, learn how to cook. Like as Chimamanda Adichie would say, cooking is such a life essential skill that you don't want to give it out totally to somebody. Like even if you're thinking of a spouse in future or something like that, you don't have to give such a life essential skill entirely to somebody. Like have some level of control over it. You can also volunteer or work as somebody's PA. So you really don't have a degree yet, so maybe the highest qualification you have is your SSCE, but you can actually work as someone's PA. Someone who is busier than you, obviously maybe has more responsibilities. You can work as their PA. There is something sort of an organic learning when you work in close relationship to busy people. You pick out skills that very important and essential skills that can actually modify the way you live your own life, even at the level that you are. All right. So the list of all of them is you can teach kids. They say teaching is the cheapest profession there is, but you can always teach irrespective of what you know. You can always teach. You can always teach some way. You can teach kids that are way lower than you in educational cadre, such that you don't have to think so much out of your wit to be able to actually have the knowledge that you require to teach them. So teaching is always open. You can sell your knowledge online, whatever skill you have, maybe whatever skill you've acquired before, you can actually leverage the internet and then sell them. So that's something. You can start a YouTube channel. I started mine almost on a whim, and so far so good. And if you like and see, if you think what you're getting so far is interesting, maybe you should click that red button and subscribe now to my channel. All right, so you can learn a new language. I advocate a lot the local Nigerian language to be able to communicate with people. But if you want to learn an international language, try French. If you learn French, you've essentially known a huge percentage of Africans you can communicate with, sort of. And you can always start. There are apps to help you learn. There are tools everywhere online that you can actually learn with. So learn a new language. Read about politics, read about faith, read about history, read about philosophy. Read, but don't just read randomly. Read very quality material, and don't read on Twitter. I was listening to Chimamanda Adichie's Yale address, a graduation, I think 2017. She was addressing the graduating class, and she was telling them you have to read something continuous. So Twitter feeds don't count. You have to read something continuous, like a book, a real book. You never know until you open the pages of the book. By the way, the audio copy of my book is actually available, so if you are interested, you can send me a mail, and then just at a token price, and then I'll send you an audio copy and a PDF copy so that you can accompany yourself. If you're a busy person, you can plug in and listen to it as an audio. So that's also available to you. Exercise, go to the gym, get those abs that you have always been dreaming of, put yourself in good shape, and you will be the better for it. And travel is now like my best pastime. Travel, there's so many beautiful places to see, so many exciting things to see, and I'm not talking about in Santorini or in Padua in Italy or in Venice. I'm talking about right here in Nigeria. That are very interesting, intriguing sites. Keep security in mind, keep logistics in mind. However, there are beautiful places even around you that you can see, and I assure you, the trail you see on Instagram is multiplied by 10 when it comes to the real deal. When you see people diving into pools online and you take a dive yourself, the difference is night and day is exclusively totally different, and I'm telling you, the experience is going to be worth it. Don't forget, if you are going to spend on anything, spend on experiences. So until I see you next time again on my channel, my name is Dr. Peter, and it's been a pleasure and a privilege. Use your time well. As I say, time is life. See you.